For the past 10 years, I've applied to the Commission on the Prerogative of Mercy and who have benefited from its decisions. The list, as I say, will be circulated when the exercise is completed, but some indication of cases of notorious reputation have already been flagged in the media, which has provoked widespread criticism. Of these, the infamous case of one Chandra Prakash Singh Deep, found guilty in a case of fraud and sentenced to 1 year imprisonment. Here, the Commission intervened to substitute the prison sentence by a fine of 100,000 rupees, 100,000 rupees. This was a case where the Commission delivered a decision whilst a stay order of the judgment was in force against the convicted individual, that is Mr. Deep, and it was therefore under judicial controls. Never happened before. While the judiciary says, hold on, the Commission of Prerogative of Mercy decided that, no, we don't have to wait for the judiciary. And that convicted individual, as we know, happened to be the son of the former Commissioner of Police. And it was easy for the public to draw its own conclusion and express the disgust and of such an over-defiance of the judicial system. This case was another scandalous legacy left by the previous regime. And we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. That is what we have to make sure. We need now to retain two fundamental points from this state of affairs. First, this was a clear case of violation of the principle of separation of powers, whereby the powers of the judiciary have been outrageously usurped by the executive by a clique in power. This is what happened here. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. I'll keep your secrets, you keep my secrets. This is what happened. Secondly, the Commission on the Prerogative of Mercy, through its conduct, was perceived by the public as blatantly lacking independence. Again, we had very good people in the past, but this is what happened this time. It was perceived as yet another striking illustration of the decay of our public institutions under the previous regime, Madam Speaker. This episode showcases the harm which an irresponsible executive can cause to a country, going to the extent of perverting the course of justice to satiate the totalitarian state of a petty dictator. Madam Speaker, we will revisit how the Commission is set up and how it should function to prevent such a repeat of such a scandalous matter.
Yes. Honourable third member for Boubassa.
B3, Madame la Présidente.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, driving under the influence of drugs is a major concern and contributes to road accidents resulting in fatalities. More and more, this is the case. In regard to Part A of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that from the 1st of January 2024 to the 30th of January 2025, 13 drivers involved in road accidents were tested positive for drugs. 2 of these accidents were fatal. I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that inquiries into the 13 cases are ongoing. As for Part B of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that several measures are being undertaken by the police to deter the use of drugs by drivers, and some of these measures are as follows. First of all, from the 1st of January, there were 2,771 public campaigns focusing on the dangers of both drink and drug driving have been carried out. They carried out in malls, in public places, traffic centers, and in schools. Secondly, delivery of lectures to private companies on safe driving and behavior on the road. Thirdly, patrols are being carried out. They have been increased on a regular basis. Fourth, 3,378 targeted operations were carried out during the period January 2024 to 30th of January 2025 in order to track road traffic offenders, including those who have consumed drugs. From the 1st of January, from that time, 1,146 drivers have been booked for driving under influence of drug or intoxicating substances. Over the last weekend, some 18,258 vehicle checks were conducted, out of which 3,900 contraventions were established and 1,286 fixed penalties were issued. Furthermore, 54 drivers were tested positive for alcohol and 14 drivers positive for drug consumption. Madam Speaker, I'm also informed that the Ministry of Land Transport is in parallel conducting a sensitization campaign on the NBC TV, radio, and other media platforms, on the dangers of drink and drug consumption and driving. Madam Speaker, my government is very much concerned about the overall damage caused by drugs on individuals and public at large, including road accidents and, as you said, involving drug-impaired drivers. We are committed to ensure the safety of all road users and will relentlessly fight against the scourge of drugs in our society. Government intends to have a thorough review of the whole issue of road safety and penalty points. And the penalty points will be reintroduced. They should never have been stopped. Reintroduced, but we're going to look at it in a global manner. In some places, there need not be on motorways cameras forcing drivers to suddenly brake. All this will be looked at. We're having an expert to look at this, this is what I had to say. I mean, also, I could also say that we're looking at people from outside to come and have a look.
Yes, yes, Mr.
Madame la Présidente, le Premier ministre peut-il indiquer à la Chambre, de ces 13 cas qu'il a mentionnés, combien sont liés à la consommation de cannabis, combien à la consommation de drogue de synthèse et combien à la consommation de cocaïne, héroïne ou autre type de drogue?
The information I have is not detailing which drug was used, but I can say 13 were tested positive.
Présidente, dernière question. Le Premier ministre est certainement au courant des dégâts causés par les drogues de synthèse qui sont facilement accessibles aux jeunes dans les coins et recoins du pays. De ce fait, le gouvernement compte-t-il imposer des mesures pour que les chauffeurs de transport public qui ont la vie de milliers de Mauriciens entre leurs mains soient systématiquement soumis à des contrôles avant de prendre la route?
Yes, as I say, we are looking at it globally. All this will happen. But may I remind the honourable member that the previous regime, look what happened. Drug erupted in the country, in schools. Young children were taking drugs. This never happened before. But anyway, whatever has happened, we're going to look at this. And I should perhaps add, we take it so seriously that we're having a special agency. And I'm appointing Mr. Sam Lutan, who knows the issue very well, as he will be like a czar for drugs. He will be in my office, but he will be the chairperson of that national agency.
Thank you, Prime Minister. The Honourable Third Member for Pamplemousse and Triolet.
Madam Speaker, B4.
Madam Speaker, the World Drug Report of 2023 warned of a proliferation of supply, demand, and use of synthetic drugs, as well as an increase in substance use disorders. As per the report, the number of people using drugs has increased by 11% globally, but by as much as 40% in Africa. That is in 2023. Madam Speaker, in response to the growing threats posed by synthetic drugs, the United States launched the Global Coalition to address synthetic drug threats aimed to accelerate international efforts to tackle this rising crisis. As part of the Global Coalition initiative, the government of the United States provided funding to the UNODC to conduct a detailed assessment of the threats posed by synthetic drugs. This project also evaluated national and regional capacities of 6 East African countries, namely Kenya, Madagascar, Seychelles, Tanzania, Uganda, and Mauritius was included in that, to implement key actions outlined in the UNODC synthetic drug strategy. A validation workshop was held from 25th to 27th September 2024 in Nairobi. This report, which has yet to be finalized, it is expected to be released in March. As part of the assessment in July 2024, the UNODC conducted a study on synthetic drugs in Mauritius, specifically in Mauritius. And some of the main findings of the UNODC report are as follows. First of all, among the 6 countries that I named, Mauritius has been identified as the leading user of synthetic cannabinoids. Mauritius is the leading one. Drug rehabilitation efforts within the public sector remain severely limited. Rehabilitation. Although methadone, this is what the report says, although methadone treatment is available, and I remind the House, methadone was introduced when I was Prime Minister. When the new government came in 2014, the minister then decided, no, methadone is not important. I know an expert from Reunion Island expressed his views on that. That is a big mistake. And then later on, they had to reintroduce the methadone. Now, it says, although methadone treatment is available, other forms of treatment remain underdeveloped and inadequate. And loss, I think it says, psychological support and interventions, including traditional medicine, where available, needs further strengthening. With limited resources and insufficient follow-up strategies, many individuals either fail to complete the inpatient treatment or relapse after finishing it. Madam Speaker, the threat posed by synthetic cannabis and other drugs in Mauritius was already highlighted in the Global Organized Crime Index of 2023, which measures 15 criminal markets, including drug markets across 193 member states. And in that report, out of the 193, Mauritius was ranked at the 7th place with regard to synthetic drug market, behind South Africa among this area. However, in spite of Mauritius forming part of the US Global Coalition since November 2023, the previous government allowed the situation to worsen. Nothing was done, as usual. It has failed to fully leverage the benefits and resources available through the coalition to strengthen the country's response. Madam Speaker, as stated in the government program, which was just read by His Excellency the President, the fight against drug trafficking and the use will be one of the major priorities of this government. Let me reiterate the action that my government intends to take to deal with this. Additional resources will be provided to the police, not just resources, not just spending money. These people have to be trained to know how to tackle the problem, to increase their capacity to deal efficiently. Bold measures will be adopted to end the suffering of families and society in general. We also said a select committee of the National Assembly will be appointed in the near future to look into the ways and means to address this problem of drugs. Government will develop and implement a comprehensive action plan for a more efficient and effective response. The legal provisions in respect of trafficking, consumption, and treatment of drug addicts will be reviewed to cater inter alia for differentiated treatment of traffickers and consumers. And government, as I mentioned just now, will set up a national drug policy monitoring and coordination agency that will bring together various public bodies all under one roof to combat drug trafficking, provide rehabilitation and support to families of victims of drug abuse, all under one roof. This is why I mentioned, when I mentioned Mr. Sam Luton, who is former minister, to be the chairperson of this agency. We will also ensure, Madam Speaker, that actions being taken to combat the drugs are aligned with the recommendations of the UNODC report.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Yes?
Madam Speaker, can the Honourable Prime Minister advise if the said study indicate if the problem of drugs is concentrated in certain regions of Mauritius, or whether this is eating the whole of our future as a whole?
From what I see so far, Madam Speaker, it is a national problem, not just in one region, but a national problem.
Yes, thank you. The honourable member, member for Port-Louis North and Mont-Island.
B5, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I thank the honourable member for this question, as it gives me an opportunity to let the police and the country at large to see what kind of shenanigans the previous regime resorted to, thereby causing untold justice and demoralizing the police force. The very important person security unit is a specialized unit, as you know. In the context of filling of vacancies in that unit, officers are assigned higher duties, that is, to the next rank above their current substantive capacity for a period of 6 months. Such officers may be considered for promotion in the substantive capacity only after having satisfactorily completed the 6 months assignment. In the event they are transferred to other divisions or branches of the Mauritius Police Force during the 6-month period, the assignment of duties lapses. Now, Madam Speaker, I wish to point out that in December 2014, shortly after the new government came to power, 21 police officers posted to the very important person security unit, 21, and who had been assigned higher duties were reverted to the former ranks, 21, immediately. I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that from the 10th of November 2024 to the 30th of January 2025, 47 police officers posted to that unit and who were assigned higher duties on the 24th of August 2024, that is just prior to the election, were transferred to other divisions and branches of the police force. As they were transferred before the completion of the 6-month period of that unit, the assignment of higher duties have lapsed. But I wish to inform the House and the honourable member that since 2015, several officers attached to the VIPSU unit have benefited from accelerated promotions, superseding other very deserving officers. Juniors were favoured over more experienced and senior officers. It was a blatant injustice to members of the police force under the previous regime. Everything was politicized. There are some very able police officers in the VIPSU. Not only their juniors went over their head, they were downgraded. What they had already received been downgraded. And then the juniors were given accelerated promotion, 1, 2, 3, even 4 promotions during that period. These injustices, Madam Speaker, will have to be addressed and corrected.
Yes.
If you allow me 2 supplementaries on this.
Yes, please.
Yes, firstly, Madam Speaker, is the Prime Minister aware that there are police officers who have had, reckoning 27 years of service as sergeant, promoted to inspector, in fact were appointed to the unit under his first tenure as Prime Minister? There are officers with 20 years of service appointed on your second tenure as Prime Minister, again sergeant, promoted to inspector. They've been stripped off of their promotion, the most unfairly, a few days after the Prime Minister took office.
What did you look at? I suppose the honourable member doesn't know. I'll just explain how injustices were performed. Now, if a police officer who has been appointed gets accelerated promotion and becomes, in other words, is senior to somebody who was already senior, who has been downgraded, we have to correct the injustice. That is what happened.
I'm sure the Prime Minister will realize that 27 years as a sergeant promoted to inspector is not accelerated.
This is not a question.
Yes. Madam Speaker, the question is, the Prime Minister recalls the 21 VIPSUs being promoted in 2014. This is why the Prime Minister gave the assurance on the 22nd of September at Triolet in a meeting on his own volition that he gave the guarantee that no public police officers would be transferred and stripped of promotions, and that same had happened to him. He gave that word, and yet a few days later, after being elected, these poor police officers have been stripped of their promotion. My question is to the Prime Minister whether, in considering his own word that has been given prior to the election, he will not remedy the injustice that he has himself been aware of prior to that.
But the honourable member doesn't say. Not all the police officers who had a promotion are being stripped out. Not all. I mentioned the figures here. But when we are looking at what has happened, we have to take corrective measures. And I'm telling you one thing, I will not stand for injustice in the police force. We have to correct the injustices that happened. It happened, unfortunately for them.
One last one, yes.
The Honourable Prime Minister might at least, for those officers, again, that haven't had fast promotions tracking, that haven't jumped ahead of their junior colleagues, more senior colleagues, if at least he could give consideration to those officers to restore their promotion. As I said, at least 2 cases of those appointed under you to the VIPSU have been promoted recently and stripped of. Whether he will at least give consideration to cases that look to be genuine.
I'll give you an example to the honourable member. He keeps saying appointed under me. Do you know that one of the VIPSU who was in the car behind me, who I promoted through the police, discipline forces, he was given that promotion to be behind the Prime Minister. It's a great privilege. Do you know what he did? He is the one who went and told the MSM leaders that the police didn't do proper search in my home. There's another safe. The police came through his declaration. He went to see the then Commissioner of Police and the former Prime Minister. And they came to my home. They had already turned my home upside down. Everywhere. All the drawers had been thrown, everything upside down. They came again. I asked the policeman, why are you coming again? You've done this job 2 days ago. He said, I can't tell you, but I will tell you in a minute. He didn't want to say in front of other people. And then he told me, the guy who was in your car, you had promoted. This is what he has done. Do you want me to just stay quiet and say, okay, Jaide? No, sir. This is gone. We will take action. We will take action. I know who he is. But we will take action. We have to correct these injustices and these traitors. They have a duty to be with the former Prime Minister. With me, at the time I was former Prime Minister, and this is what they did. And you think I will just sit down and accept? No, I will not.
Your next question.
B6.
B6.
Madam Speaker, with your permission, I shall reply to parliamentary question B6 and B15 together as they relate to the same issue. Madam Speaker, I thank the honourable member again for giving me the opportunity of informing the House of recent developments in connection with the very, very disturbing practices resorted to by the last government to spy on our citizens, everyone. You will be shocked. In view of the importance of this matter, Madam Speaker, I crave your indulgence and that of the House for taking a little bit more time to give a comprehensive reply. Madam Speaker, the protection of the freedom of expression of any person is enshrined in Section 12 of our Constitution. Let me quote Section 12 of the Constitution. Except with his own consent, no person shall be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of expression, that is to say, freedom to hold opinions and to receive and import ideas and information without interference and freedom from interference with his correspondence. It is therefore crystal clear, Madam Speaker, that phone tapping constitutes a breach of our fundamental human rights, and it is particularly an intrusion onto the right of privacy. Now, the whole nation was shocked. I'm sure some members of the opposition too might have been shocked when it came to know in October of last year, through the Moustache leaks, that private telephone conversations of individuals, key government officials, political opponents, as well as even members of the judiciary, diplomatic missions, were being listened to by the MSM government. As soon as I became Prime Minister, I considered that it was an urgent priority to investigate the nature and extent of the surveillance to investigate the techniques and activities employed by the previous regime to spy on its own citizens and to take swift action to render them inoperable. I tell people, many people are impatient. We have priority. This is a priority. I had to stop this phone bugging as I'm listening to people's conversation. To be absolutely sure that this was being done. On dit le chat ne boit pas du chaud de forme. Ça m'est arrivé avant. So to be absolutely sure that this was being done, I invited international experts, real experts, to carry out a thorough investigation together with senior members of the police force and the Commissioner of Police. I have to inform the House that the results of these preliminary investigations have been nothing short of shocking. The initial conclusions are as follows. And as I said, they are breathtaking, to say the least. I haven't shared this with most people except the Deputy Prime Minister. The MSM government, believe it or not, Madam Speaker, did not only do phone tapping of certain high-profile members of the opposition, or even, as I say, even its own ministers, even its own allies, including the PMSD. They were listening. What happened to you with the car accident? All this they have listened to. Who said who to tell you to do this, not to do that? All this, I can tell you. They even went further, Madam Speaker. This is what is most shocking even. Even that is shocking. But they conducted mass surveillance. Mass surveillance. They had multiple sites, not one site, multiple sites where this was being done. What this means, Madam Speaker, that the government, the last government, put in place systems to monitor and intercept calls and internet traffic in the country. This is what's called mass interception. Let me quote what the experts say. The system put in place, I'm quoting, is a highly sophisticated mass monitoring tool for state surveillance of the people of Mauritius. In other words, what I'm saying, it's not just me or the Deputy Prime Minister or members of the opposition. Everyone, including allies, including ministers, including members of the judiciary. This means that every mobile conversation, I'm putting stress on every mobile conversation, every landline call, every post on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Signal, on TikTok, every email, everyone I'm saying, not just us, everyone was being monitored by the government. Do you realize what this means? It's a massive, massive monitoring. Every piece of digital data communicated by a citizen to every other citizen in this country was diverted. Everything you're saying was diverted to this government system for storage and subsequent analysis and exploitation. When Judah came and approached the leader of the PMSD, he says through this, that they knew what was happening. The system had the capacity to intercept and store all communications on the island. All. Not just some select cases. All. Journalists as well. All this cost a lot of money, and of course, it was the public that was paying, not them, public. As our nation was groaning, was suffering under financial strain, on facing, each one had a problem in each household, we know, the cost of living. What were they and the handmen engaged upon? Spying on all the Mauritians, all of them. All the people you see here have been on the phone, including you, Madam Speaker. Everyone. Even if you were not in politics, where you were being listened to. So far, for the costs, we have uncovered payments in connection with these systems listen to this carefully, you know how much? Over $110 million for this system. People are complaining about the cost of living. They're having difficulty to make ends meet. Here the government, the previous regime spent so far I said, it's probably going to be more, $110 billion US spent on this. A company based in Dubai, I'll name it, Petzl, named in Dubai, was being paid to service the system, the equipment. How much do you think? How much could a servicing a system cost? I'll tell you, $7.5 million per year. How is that possible? How can you spend millions of dollars? What it means is that some of that money went into the pockets of some people. That's what it means, because it can't cost that much. I'm sure all members of this House, every Mauritian will feel as I do. When I learned of this, a sense of revulsion and disgust at what the priorities of the previous government of the MSM and its leader was. These were the priorities. And now they're jumping, they think they will get elected again. I should add, Madam Speaker, that when international experts, who, as I said, were accompanied by the Mauritius Police Force, sought to establish what information had been gathered, they found that the stations had been wiped clean. And when wiped clean? We know. As the results of the election were coming in, this is when they were cleaning everything. It shows to me that they thought they would win the election. I don't know in what tower they were living. But when they realized that they're losing the election, while people started with their flags, very happy that we have been relieved of these maggots, here they are cleaning their mess. They were wiping clean everything. But let me give a word of warning, because this is being done other places too. We are aware. We are aware of what's happening at the State Bank. For example, we are aware of a few other places. Let me give a word of warning, Madam Speaker. The experts, they are real experts. Whatever you clean, they will be able to retrieve the information. They are able. That's why I know. Information that have been cleaned, supposedly. We know now. We have them. We will identify those who destroy evidence. As the Attorney General and other lawyers know, it is a criminal offense, and it carries heavy penalties. They think they will wipe out and we will not know. I can assure the House, they will have to bear the consequences of the deeds. They will feel the full force of the law, and we will see whether we don't have to strengthen the law for these people. I agree, we will have to. In fact, by attempting to destroy evidence, they are worsening the situations. They have been warned, take your responsibility. If you want to go and destroy evidence, go and destroy it if you want. We will get the evidence. I'm pretty sure of that now. Madam Speaker, the task of sifting through this squalid rubble and debris left by this mafiosi regime, which was utterly devoid of moral scruples, who ignored what the Constitution said, we will continue until the whole truth is known to the nation. As far as for the last part of the question, I can tell the House and the whole nation that I've asked an end to be put to the secret surveillance installed by this undemocratic and perverse group, which have practiced a blatant state capture and confiscated our liberty. This is what the election was about, liberty and unity. This should never be allowed to happen again. I can confirm what the experts said, and I'm quoting, all equipment have been catalogued, shut down, and disconnected. The system is now disabled. Nobody is going to listen to what you say. I can assure you. There will, under this government, never be any restoration of mass interception of us. Never. I can tell you, both of us have been prime ministers. I'm prime minister again. The deputy prime minister has been prime minister. I can tell you, I was in the opposition. I became prime minister afterwards. Neither of us ever did these democratic principles. We never spied on the opponents. Neither he nor me. And we were not together at the time. As these experts describe it, what was being done, and this is also important. They were using the most sophisticated technological equipment for eavesdropping, but they were also making use of the cameras. We've said, remember Osman Mohammed said the camera was pointing at his home. And Sana Root said, well, close your window. The 4th Street were 4 cameras. Only one exit, but 4 cameras. They were using that, and they were using the cameras to monitor. In other words, they knew not only what you were seeing, what you were saying on the phone, but also your movements. That also was being monitored. A mass monitoring tool for state surveillance of every citizen in this country. This is what was happening. Madam Speaker, this government will not be deflected from seeking out the truth and bringing to justice and making accountable to the law those who are responsible for just despicable acts. I can tell the House, I will update the House once I get further report. I'm even prepared to lay the report on the table of the Assembly so that you can see with your eyes what was happening to our country.
I will, honourable members, time is already up, but in view of the importance of the question, of course I didn't stop the Prime Minister, so I will also allow one question.
Just one. If you might allow 2, because I have 2 parliamentary questions coming.
Just one.
Well, I'll put it all together then. The Prime Minister said on the 20th of January that he hasn't received assurances that there might not be other systems in use right now, and therefore this is very serious. Not only what the Prime Minister has described as un outil de surveillance massif officiellement installé, but also it appears that the own Prime Minister's line has been taken and subsequently leaked. Is the Prime Minister not now of the opinion that this, perhaps the most important matter regarding privacy, regarding secrets of the Mauritian state, safeguarding those secrets, given that he cannot say if those equipments are still being used according to his interview on the 20th. My question is, the Honourable Prime Minister, that doesn't he deem fit to instate a commission of inquiry to shed the light on, first of all, who has ordered for this system to be put in place? Secondly, the funds that have been paid. Thirdly, who have kept copies of what? Because of what we understand, the data has been deleted. And we must know, yes, the question is, it appears that the data has not been kept in one place and that many persons, more than one, may still have that data because same has been leaked during the campaign. Therefore, the question is, does he not see it as a matter of urgency to set up a commission of inquiry which has already been set up by the previous government and to urgently shed all the light on this whole saga, which, do not forget, has put you in power?
We were put in power.
Members, let the Prime Minister speak.
Madam Speaker, we were put in power because people in this country felt in their guts what was happening and they voted for liberty. Liberty. That's what they voted for. And unity. Because the communal campaign went as well, but nobody cared. Mauritians are Mauritians. Un peuple admirable, comme on dit. But I answered the question that you asked. that I have made sure international experts, precisely what I said in January. This is precisely why I got international experts, real experts in the matter, to look at the whole matter and to, I've even quoted what they said, that the system has been disbanded. But as you say, that is why I say it's a preliminary investigation. We can't say at the moment who has got what that they've kept. We will know. Unless they leave the country for good, we will know. If they're here, we will know. These people, you know, Madam Speaker, it's like the scums of the earth. That's what we're dealing with. We ought to rub their face in the gutter where they belong.
Members, time is up now for PMQT. Please, may I speak? I just want to... Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. May I speak? Otherwise I'll have to shout, which I do not want to do. Under PMQT, question B12 and B16 have been withdrawn, okay? Now we proceed with questions addressed to honourable ministers. Honourable members, the table has been advised that PQB28 will be replied by Honourable Minister of Social Integration, Social Security and National Solidarity. PQB65 will be replied by Honourable Minister of Local Government. I now call on First Member for Lacaverne and Phoenix.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B17, please.
Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that on the 4th of December 2024, the Executive Secretary of the SADC, the Southern African Development Community, informed me that Level 1 sanctions had been imposed against Mauritius for non-payment of the sum of 11,056,083 USD, which is equivalent to 508,667,161 rupees. Now, these sanctions entail the suspension of Mauritius' right to speak and receive documentation for all SADC meetings, including at senior officials, ministerial, and heads of states and government levels. I further wish to inform the House that although Cabinet under the previous government was informed on 2 occasions, Madam Speaker, in March 2024 and August 2024, that Level 1 sanctions will be imposed on Mauritius if these payments are not made. And despite the fact that provisions had been made in the national budget for financial year 2024-2025 to the tune of 640 million rupees, no payment was made by the previous government. Madam Speaker, I have so far, unfortunately, received no plausible explanations as to why payment of the overdue contributions were not made by the previous government. I also wish to recall that I assumed duty as Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade on the 22nd of November 2024 and could not even participate in the SADC Council of Ministers meeting held virtually on 9th December 2024 due to sanctions imposed on Mauritius. Madam Speaker, with regards to Part B of the question, I wish to inform the House that as at 29th of January 2025, the total amount payable by Mauritius for both SADC mission in Mozambique and SADC mission in DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, stood at 18,259,439 USD. This amount, Madam Speaker, includes a sum of $2,795,485 USD for the SADC mission in Mozambique for the period between July 2023 and July 2024. Secondly, a sum of $8,260,589 USD for the first mandate of the SADC mission in DRC between December 2023 and December 2024. And thirdly, the sum of $7,203,365 USD for the extended mandate of SADC mission in DRC, that is for the period December 2024 to December 2025. With regards to Section C of the question, Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that on the 30th of January 2025, my ministry transferred the budgeted sum of $11,056,083 USD to the SADC Secretariat in order to honor our financial commitment to SADC. I also wrote a letter to the Executive Secretary of the SADC Secretariat informing him of the payment and calling for an immediate lifting of these sanctions. The SADC Secretariat has acknowledged receipt of the said amount and informed that the sanctions have been lifted. It will be noted that a sum of $7,203,365 USD for the extended mandate of SADC mission in DRC for the period December 2024 to December 2025 remains outstanding, and this amount is due on the 1st of April 2025. Madam the Speaker, I also wish to add that while the situation in Mozambique has stabilized and the SADC mission in Mozambique has been dismantled, the security situation in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo remains volatile. The SADC Extraordinary Summit of the Heads of State and of Government, which was held on the 31st of January 2025 in Harare, the Republic of Zimbabwe, where Mauritius could not once again participate, took note with concern of the recent attacks by the M23 armed group and Rwanda Defense Force on the government forces of DRC, the SADC mission in the DRC, and the civilian population in various areas of North Kivu. The summit expressed concern that the recent attacks continued to worsen the security and humanitarian situation in the DRC. Given the continued instability in the region, it is unlikely that the situation in the DRC will stabilize in the short term. As such, it may not be sustainable for Mauritius to maintain financial contributions to these peacekeeping missions. In this context, Madam the Speaker, Mauritius will engage with the SADC leadership, including the SADC Executive Secretary and the President of Zimbabwe, current SADC chairperson, on the margins of the upcoming African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, where a delegation which will be led by the Honorable Prime Minister will attend. These discussions will highlight and reaffirm Mauritius' unwavering commitment to regional solidarity and security, and to explore the possibility of securing a waiver for the remaining balance pertaining to the extended mandate of SADC mission in DRC. Mauritius will also propose that future ad hoc contributions be made voluntary and urge SADC to explore alternative funding mechanisms such as the African Union Peace Fund to ease the financial burden of small island states like Mauritius. Madam the Speaker, I wish to highlight that the payment of the contributions to the SADC peacemaking missions were dealt with in a complacent and irresponsible manner by the previous government. As soon as the new government was apprised of the situation, a decision was taken to effect the payment as an utmost urgency to restore the credibility and prestige of Mauritius. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable First Member for Port Louis North and Mortaillon.
B18, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, with regards to part A of the question, the measures taken during the last 10 years to alleviate the water problem in constituency number 4, Port Louis North, Montaillon are likely to take some time. The list is being compiled and will be tabled in the library of the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, with regard to part B of the question, I regret to inform the House that despite the amount of 700 million rupees, 700 million rupees spent by the Central Water Authority in its pipe replacement program and the reinstatement of some roads following the excavation works carried out in 2024, avant mais aussi in 2024, in constituency number 4, Port Louis North, Montaillon, has been delayed. Madam Speaker, I am informed by the Central Water Authority that there was a shortage of bitumen on the local market between June to September 2024. I am further informed that bids for permanent road reinstatement in the Montaillon were launched by the Central Water Authority in August and September 2024, respectively. However, these two bidding exercises were cancelled due to non-responsive bids. Subsequently, another bids exercise for the north of the tune of 70 million rupees was launched in October 2024. Following evaluation, two bids were found to be responsive and will be awarded shortly. Madam Speaker, for today, I am circulating a list of roads where pipeline and reinstatement work has been carried out in constituency number 4, Port Louis North, Montaillon.
Thank you, Minister. Yes, Madam.
I'm shocked, Mr. Honorable Patrick Asivadan, about those millions. Donc, on se pose la question que tout ça m'a millions en finale pendant toutes ces dernières années. Une question par rapport à l'état de nos routes. Je ne parle pas uniquement pour la circonscription numéro 4, mais pour les 20 circonscriptions à travers l'île, par rapport à l'état de nos routes, les conditions qui sont dans un piteux état.
Honorable member, I'm sure the Minister will not be able to reply for everything. Your question was on your constituency.
Okay, for my constituency.
Of
So,
course. So
all
how
the
is it
roads,
applied?
alors toutes les routes dans la circonscription est dans un état piteux. Ma question est, ces contracteurs qui ont été contractés par l'ancien régime, est-ce des vrais contracteurs, est-ce des professionnels ou des braconniers? Est-ce que vous comptez les garder en poste? Merci.
Madame la Présidente, je comprends l'irritation de l'honorable membre. Je peux dire que les 700 millions de roupies engloutis par la CWA pendant des années dans ce pipe replacement programme où il n'y a ni queue ni tête. Et je peux vous assurer, l'honorable membre, qu'en ce qui concerne ces 700 millions de roupies, que je qualifierais de dévalisées au nom du peuple mauricien. L'enquête est actuellement confiée à la Financial Crime Commission pour savoir qu'est-ce qui s'est passé avec ces 700 millions de roupies et surtout avec ces tuyaux que vous voyez tout autour du pays, pas enfouis, mais tout autour du pays. L'ancien General Manager du CUB et ce responsable de ces 700 CWA, vont devoir répondre à la justice de ce pays.
Est-ce que le leader de l'opposition, ancien ministre des Utilités publiques, ainsi que l'ancien GM de la Central Water Authority, est-ce qu'ils pourront répondre et dire qui fait une fête, tout ça par casse là et tout ça millions là?
Madame la Présidente, l'enquête nous dira ce qu'il faudra faire.
Honourable member, let me speak. Honourable member, I will not tolerate this kind of attitude. I will not tolerate it. You have to put your question, await an answer, and then put another question. That's it, Mr. Leader of the Opposition. You wanted to say something? It's question time. It's question time.
Blame the former Minister of Public Utilities. She has to come with a motion to this House, then we'll debate.
Open the floodgate, you see? Now, let's carry on. We got a few minutes left for lunch. Maybe it's because of that we're getting excited. Okay, next person is, I think, from memory. Now, you got me lost. I think my next... Yes. B19 is fourth member for Rodrigues. Yes.
Madam Speaker, B19.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Mauritius Shipping Corporation Limited that as from February 2024, the MV Peros Banos is being used to transport on average 260 containers to Rodrigue per voyage. It has made 27 voyages to Rodrigue in 2024. The MV Trokesia effected 6 voyages in the same year and went for dry docking in Sri Lanka in September 2024. The Mauritius Shipping Corporation Limited also enlisted the services of MV Black Rhino, which made 4 voyages in the month of January and February 2024, that is, before the arrival of MV Peros Banos. Now, with a view to increasing the supply of commodities to Rodrigue, I am informed by the Mauritius Shipping Corporation Limited that as from this month, 1 additional voyage by MV Mauritius Trokesia is being scheduled to Rodrigue monthly, along with 3 other voyages for MV Peros Banos. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that MV Peros Banos can carry an average of 350 containers to Rodrigue. Since its arrival, the vessel has been utilized effectively to transport cargo to Rodrigue. However, due to the depth constraints at Port Maturin, it has only been able to carry on average 260 containers per voyage. The average 350 containers can only be accommodated if the depth of the port is increased.
Thank you, Minister. I will have a last question. Then I will call third member for Vieux-Grand-Port and Rosbel.
Thank you, B20.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Central Water Authority that the contract for a glass-fused steel reservoir at Nouvelle-France was awarded to Pacific Builders on 10 July 2023 for a sum of 48 412 738. Construction work started on the 6th September 2023. The reservoir was put into service on the 17th September 2024. Madam Speaker, as for the Cluny Reservoir, I am informed by the Central Water Authority that tenders for the design and build project for the construction of 1 reinforced concrete reservoir of 3,000 mètres cubes at Cluny and 1 reinforced concrete reservoir of 2,000 mètres cubes at Richarneau were launched in January 2021. The tenders for the construction of both reservoirs were awarded to Sotravic Limited for a total sum of 74,713,000. I'm further informed by the Central Water Authority that the construction of Cluny Reservoir started on the 5th October 2021 and the contractual completion date was le 4 Octobre 2022. The completion date was revised to April 2023, but the date of completion of works was 13 June 2023. Madam Speaker, I am informed by the Central Water Authority that defects were observed in the reservoir when the CWA carried out its first drop test on 6 March 2023. The contractor, that is Sotravic, was thus requested to effect remedial works in accordance with the condition of the contract. Same were completed on the in March 2023. The reservoir was put into operation on July 23 and was inaugurated in August, le 17 août 2023, by the then Prime Minister. Handing over was done on the 6th September 2023. During a site visit by officers of the CWA in July 2024, vertical dam patches were visible on the reservoir wall. The contractor was again requested to effect remedial works. The remedial works were undertaken by the contractor and specialist contractor Tusk from the 27 août 2024 to August 2024. In September 2024, the contractor was informed that there will still some patch visible on the reservoir wall despite the repairs works carried out. The contractor was again requested to remedy to the defects. Madam Speaker, I effected a site visit at Cluny Reservoir on 16 January 2025, accompanied by officers of my ministry and CWA, and I have noted the leakages visible on the external wall surface of the reservoir at several places. Madam Speaker, I have requested a full-fledged independent inquiry into the execution of this contract, particularly the quality of work and supervision of the contract. The inquiry team will be required to situate responsibilities and action will be taken as appropriate. Despite his intended purpose, et ça c'est important pour le peuple mauricien, despite this intended purpose and substantial investment involved, plus de 74 millions de roupies, the reservoir remained non-operational at a time when the country is facing a severe water crisis. This failure not only highlights potential mismanagement and oversight lapses, but also raise serious questions about responsibility and the effectiveness of decision-making in such a vital infrastructure project. An urgent and transparent investigation is ongoing to determine the root of cause and causes and hold those accountable for these critical shortcomings.
Yes. Just one question.
Yes, in view of the significant amount of taxpayers' money spent on the construction of these two reservoirs, which I understand are not, or regrettably not operational, will the Minister inform the House as to what corrective measures have been taken or will be taken by his ministry to make sure that the water supply of those inhabitants are not interrupted?
Madame la Présidente, c'est clair que ce réservoir va devoir être détruit. Il n'y a pas d'autre choix. 25 fissures sur ce réservoir qui a que 16 mois à peu près, avec des millions et des millions investis justement pour répondre à ce que nous vivons actuellement, cette sécheresse. Une enquête est en cours pour situer les responsabilités. Le contracteur va devoir assumer ses responsabilités. Mais moi, ce que j'ai envie de voir, c'est que ceux qui sont responsables dans la Central Water Authority payent les conséquences de ces décisions qui ont été prises dans le temps. Merci, Madame.
Now it's time for me to break. We will break for 1.5 hours and we will resume at 2:30 p.m. Please.